The moment someone triggers you, it feels like something inside you has been invaded. A sentence lands, a tone cuts through the air, a look lingers half a second too long, and suddenly your inner world is no longer yours. Your body tightens before your mind can speak. Your thoughts scatter. Your calm disappears without asking permission. In that instant, it feels obvious who is responsible. They crossed a line. They shouldn't have said that. They should have known better. And yet, beneath that certainty, something far more uncomfortable is happening. You are no longer present. You have been pulled out of yourself. This is the part no one likes to admit. The trigger doesn't take your peace by force. It is handed over. Quietly, automatically, almost unconsciously. Stoicism begins exactly where this illusion breaks. It does not ask you to be unbothered. It asks you to be honest. Honest about where power actually lives. Honest about how quickly the mind volunteers control the moment it feels threatened. Because what you call being triggered is not an attack. It is a reflex. When someone triggers you, the body reacts first, long before reason enters the room. The heart accelerates. The breath shortens. The nervous system prepares for defense. This reaction feels so immediate that it convinces you it must be justified. But the Stoics observed something most people never slow down enough to notice. The body reacts to meaning, not to reality itself. And meaning is supplied by the mind in an instant so fast it feels invisible. Between what happens and how you feel, there is a moment so small most people never see it. A gap. In that gap, the mind labels what just occurred: disrespect, threat, insult, rejection. The label arrives before you are aware of choosing it. And once the label is accepted, emotion follows like a shadow. This is why two people can hear the same words and walk away with completely different reactions. The event was shared, the interpretation was not. Epictetus warned that people are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. This is not philosophy meant to sound clever. It is a diagnosis. The trigger is not the sentence spoken out loud. It is the sentence silently added afterward. The part that says, "This means something about me." Once that sentence is believed, the mind moves into protection mode. It begins defending an identity it thinks is under attack. Most people live inside this pattern without ever questioning it. They believe their reactions are proof of truth. If it hurt, it must have mattered. If it angered me, it must have been wrong. Stoicism asks you to suspend that assumption, not to deny the feeling, but to examine its origin. Because the moment you believe every reaction is justified, you surrender the ability to choose who you become in the moment that matters most. When someone triggers you, do this instead. Do not rush to respond, explain, correct, or defend. Do not immediately trust the first story your mind tells. Instead, create distance between the event and the interpretation. Hear the words without commentary. Observe the reaction without feeding it. This pause is not weakness. It is the rarest form of strength. Most people cannot tolerate the discomfort of not reacting. They mistake impulse for authenticity. The Stoic understands that restraint is not repression. It is clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you always have the option of removing your opinion about things. This sounds simple until you try it. Removing opinion feels like standing still while the mind demands movement. It feels unnatural because the ego wants immediate resolution. It wants to restore its sense of control as fast as possible. That is why reactions feel urgent. They promise relief. But that relief is temporary, and the cost is always peace. Overthinking is what happens when the reaction never finds closure. The mind replays the moment again and again, not because it is trying to understand, but because it is trying to regain control over something that already passed. Each replay is an attempt to rewrite the past. A better response, a sharper boundary, a stronger comeback. But the past cannot be controlled, only interpreted. And every replay strengthens the emotional imprint instead of dissolving it. The Stoic sees overthinking for what it is: unresolved judgment. The mind cannot let go because it believes something essential was threatened. Respect, status, self-image. Once you see this, the loop begins to lose its authority. You realize the thought is not asking for analysis. It is asking for reassurance. And reassurance does not come from replaying the moment. It comes from refusing to let the judgment define you. As you practice this, something shifts. Triggers become signals instead of commands. You start to notice how often your peace was tied to how others behaved, how dependent calm was on external approval. This realization is not comfortable, but it is freeing, because once you see that control was misplaced, you can take it back. You stop trying to manage people and start managing perception. You stop needing the world to be fair for you to be steady. You understand that reacting quickly feels powerful, but choosing carefully is what actually is. The Stoics never taught emotional numbness. They taught emotional sovereignty, to feel fully without being owned. With time, fewer things provoke you. Not because you've hardened, but because you've softened your grip on ego-driven interpretations. You listen more. You speak less. When you do respond, it is measured, not mechanical. And when silence appears, it is no longer awkward. It is intentional. So when someone triggers you, remember this: the moment is not demanding a reaction. It is offering a choice, a chance to see how the mind operates when it feels challenged, a chance to pause, not to escape, but to observe. And in that pause, you discover something quietly powerful. Nothing outside you ever had the authority you thought it did. Your peace was never taken. It was waiting for you to notice where it truly comes from.